Okay, so welcome to the first edition of Off My Chest, featuring Shane Chest. What's on your chest this week?
I guess the current issue is the announcement at the end of last year by BGF that they were going to be effectively cutting all client services.
Yeah, I saw a little snippet in the Star today. I think they said that BGF clients are being asked to take more responsibility for themselves.
What they did was they spent more money on themselves than they were able to rake in the name of HIV positive people. They spent $1.45 million on wages for their 28 staff and a further $1.4 million in expenses, which they can't seem to account for. There's $500,000 missing from those expense accounts, and spent only $469,000 on their clients. As a consequence, they decided they were going to have to cut client services in effect. So their 1,000 plus clients are going to have to find some other way to fund themselves. My issue, of course, is that we, as donors to BGF, give our money for HIV positive people, not to fatten the arse of Bev Lang and her cohorts.
Speaking of being fat in the arse.
Yes, stuck full of HIV dollars.
But you're not only a donor, but you're a client yourself, aren't you?
Not a client, no.
No?
I support myself.
Okay.
Luckily, I don't need ACON or BGF. If I did, obviously, I wouldn't be able to say this stuff because I'd be on their blacklist and I wouldn't be getting any help at all.
Okay. But you were actually bumped from the samesame.com website at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And then all these people posted comments about you and you had no right of reply.
Same is a very good example of the media acquiescing to the wishes of Commonwealth Street. We were discussing certain problems we had with ACON and BGF, pointing out the negligence and incompetence of ACON's HIV education programs. We discussed on the same forums that ACON campaigns tended to encourage complacency and safe sex. We pointed out that barebacking was on the increase in this country because of their normalising and glamorising of HIV, all of which ACON didn't like, and through a couple of phone calls to the manager of Same, Tim Duggan, I and others who were critical of ACON were banned from the site.
No, well, we're treading on thin ice here because I often need to rely on these people for news information and so forth. But as I say, they only tend to want to tell me anything which has a positive spin to it.
Yeah, there's a problem there as well. The issue they have is they tend to use their advertising budget to stonewall these stories in the media. I know that, for example, one of Evolution Publishing's senior editors, Peter Hackney, resigned at the end of last year because his stories on BGF, the AIDS industry, and Mardi Gras kept being scarpered by a phone call from Commonwealth Street.
He was told that these stories would be up and running after the Mardi Gras, but that basically didn't happen. In fact, he has resigned.
No. I think they had no intention of running the stories in the first place. But unfortunately, BGF, for example, was taking a lot of money over Mardi Gras from well-meaning donors, thinking their money would go to the HIV positive community who are in such need. It should be pointed out that 90% of BGF's clients live in poverty, when in fact most of that money obviously is going to that top-heavy infrastructure and not reaching the clients.
But I mean, how many staff members do they have?
Well, that's a good point. I think that obviously if you're running into debt, and BGF finished up making a loss last year of $783,000, then you cut staff, you don't cut client services.
So
I think the effect will be that their clients will end up having to cut back on things like basics, like food.
Do you think BGF is actually betraying the memory of Bobby Goldsmith?
I think it's a disgrace they use his name to take money, yeah. I think he'd be rolling over in his grave. I think the BGF clients, there's over 1,000 of them, 90% of whom live in poverty, are in real need, and that money is given by the community for their needs and not to support that 28 staff. There are so many stories coming out of BGF of that money being, squandered on ridiculous reasons.
So there you have it, listeners. I'm certainly not suggesting that you stop contributing to BGF if that's what you're doing, but I would suggest that you actually check it out, find out for yourself what's going on so that you can make an informed decision about where your much-needed dollars should be directed.